Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it's your buddy Mr. G. We are going to rehash what we're doing today on our making our color and shape abstraction. You're going to make an image using shapes in your Pixlr Photoshop program, okay? So how we go about doing that, all right? Today we are going to make this kind of some googly eyes here. I'm going to make a Muppet monster kind of guy is what I'm thinking. So first thing you got to have for you're making an image, got to have an idea. So come up with an idea first. Better yet, come up with a sketch. If you write down a sketch and make a drawing, it'll make things a lot easier. Okay. But if you go in there and just kind of randomly have no idea what you're doing, it'll probably kind of look like you randomly had no idea what you're doing. So try to start first, get an idea. All right, I've got an idea. I want to make a Muppet monster guy here. Okay, you can make anything that you would like. Okay, so if you're into vampires, zombies from Mars, then do that. If you're into cars, do a brand new 2020 jacked up dually Camaro or something. Okay, whatever you're into, you do that. So first we're going to do, I've got my idea, so I'm going to create a new image. I'm going to create new. We're going to make full HD right here, 1920 by 1080. If you're having some bogged down problems, you're really lagging, you can try and go with a smaller. We're going to start right there. Boom. And we're going to call this color and shape your name. So my name happens to be John Grosvenor, so I'm going to call it color and shape John Grosvenor. Okay, so we've got 1920 by 1080. That's right up here. That's our resolution. You'll see it right here. And then back here, if you don't see this, we're going to turn on the background. So we're going to do that. You can pick your background, any color you want. We're just going to do white here. And then we're going to push create. And that is going to create color and shape John Grosvenor. You see the file right up there. Here's my Spaceman file from last week. We're going to work on this. All right, so making shapes. Now, in Photoshop, every time you make a shape, it puts it on a new layer. In Pixlr, it doesn't necessarily do that. So we do have to do a couple steps here. Get rid of my advertisements. All right. So let's say I want to make a shape. I want to make those googly eyes here, okay? So first, let's start with circles. So down here in the shape tool, I'm going to get the circle. Let's start with a, let's just start with a kind of light grayish pink here for the main part of our eye. Okay, so that's there. Remember, I've got full color right here, all the way down to black here. Then I've got black to white. And I've got full color down to dark, and intensity from this side, full purple, all the way down to gray and black and white over here, okay? So you have all the colors in between there, all the way to dark, all the way to full intensity, okay? So that's how this color picker works, just like the color pick wheel, only it's a square instead of a circle. All right, so there we go. Gonna do, boom, gonna make that, all right? So I've got my circle here, and I'm going to draw it. Before I do that, I'm going to make a new layer, okay? I'm going to make a new layer so that every shape I make can be on its own layer, okay? Why am I going to do that? Okay, when I click new layer, it says empty image or text. We're doing an empty layer. If every layer you're making is going to be empty, you can go ahead and click that. It'll stop asking you that question, because when you make an image layer, you obviously bring it in, and when you make a text layer, it'll say, do you want to make a new text layer? Because you're perfectly fine to go ahead and turn that off right there, okay? And I say empty layer. All right, so when I draw my circle by clicking and dragging across, remember I can make ellipses like this by pulling and dragging, or I can hold down the shift key and make a perfect circle. Now in this case, I want to make a perfect circle because I want my monster eye right there like that, okay? Now let's go ahead, and I want to, on top of that, I'm going to make another circle. And I want this circle. I didn't talk about stroke, by the way, so I didn't have a stroke on this. Let's make a stroke on the next one here. So on the color, you've got your fill, which is the color here we got. So obviously this kind of fuchsia purple here. And I've got this kind of mauve red here. That is the secondary color, and that's going to be my stroke. So my stroke is going to be the line. So if I go on here and I take that stroke and I bring it up to, let's say, about 10 there, okay? And let's take this and we'll make it just almost white. Okay. So now when I draw this on my new layer, as I push new layer, now I have new layer. I've got this shape right here. Okay. I'm going to take my move tool. I'm going to put this on top of here. Remember, this is on top of here because that layer is on top of there. So whatever layer is on the top, the order goes top to bottom like a stack of pancakes. I'm going to resize this a little bit. I want this to be kind of like a bloodshot ring around the bottom of my monster eye here. So there is that. Okay. Now let's make the center for our eye. I'm going to go get another color. I'm just going to get a black. I'm going to say OK. I don't want a stroke on this one for my shape. So when I get my shape, I'm going to take my stroke back down to 0. Don't want an outline on this, and I'm just going to draw a perfect circle. So I take that, and I'm going to take, oh, Mr. G made a mistake. What did I do? I didn't make this on its own layer. So I hit Command Z, because I don't want that. I go to create my own layer, and now I'm going to do that shape again on its new layer. Okay, hold down Shift because I want a perfect circle. Let's do about that big for my googly eye. And I'm going to move that onto here. Okay, now I want to have a couple highlights in my eye. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint those right on there. And I'm just going to paint those with white. I'm going to use the circle tool again, just using my shape tool. And I'm going to make a white highlight there, and let's just go ahead and we'll do 2 cute little highlights. All right, so there I got an eye. Now I want to make an eyelid, okay? So the eyelid I want to make, let's see what color monster we want to make here. I want to make just kind of stick in the purplies here. Let's get some purple eyelid here, okay? I want to make a half moon shape here so that I can put over for an eyelid. So how do I do that? Because in shapes I've got squares, circles, rounded circles, triangles. I got some stars, hearts, or I can make a line, okay? Well, let's go ahead and a half circle. Let's start with a circle. Maybe I can cut this up in a sense, and I can. So Command Z, I just made a layer there. Don't want to do that. Remember, that's my iris there. Okay, I'm going to make a new layer so I can move it around independently. Command Z. I'm going to switch because I don't have my color right. And I'm going to do a little bit bigger. I can always resize it. Okay, so there I got a circle. So how can I cut it in half? Okay, one easy way I can do, I can just take the marquee tool here. And if I take the marquee tool, Command Z. Let's get the square tool. And I drag across there. I can just hit delete and I can move that, or I can make that go away. Now I have a half circle, okay? Now I need the marquee to go away because I don't need it anymore. So I go up to select and I hit deselect, or I can hit Control D, Command D if you're on a Mac, and my selection goes away. Now I have a layer where I have just my half circle. I can take my half circle over here and I can put it on top of my eyeball, okay? Then I can resize that as I see fit. I want to kind of distort it a little bit here, so I'm going to go from fixed to free so that I can kind of stretch it up a little bit, play around, and make my eye how I want it. Matter of fact, I want to tilt my eye a little bit there, like that. Okay. Maybe move this down just a little bit. All right, so I got that. I'm pretty happy with that so far. Now I'd like to put a shadow on this eyelid here, a little eyeshadow for my monster. So how can I do that? That's a complex shape here. So if I want to make a shape that goes in here, what I can do, I can take this and I could make a copy of this, and then I could duplicate it and make it darker. Okay, so how would I do that? So if I take this shape right here, several ways I can do it. I could go on my layer and I could put duplicate layer. Also, when I have it selected up here with my move tool, you'll notice right up here is also duplicate, or I could just right click on it and I push duplicate layer and it'll make another, and it says layer 5 copy. Okay, so if I take that right there, now I've got a copy. Now I can do the same thing I just did to cut it in half. This time I'm going to use a circle tool. And I am going to make an ellipse that cuts it like that. So I have this kind of half moon shape. I'm going to push delete so that I have that shape. Get my move tool. Again, I need to make the marquee go away first. So I'm going to push Command D to deselect, or select, deselect right there. Now I'm going to take this and move it on top. Now when I move it on top, that's great, but now it's the same color. I need to make it darker so I can make a shadow. So how can I change the color of this? I can change it with my paint bucket tool. So I can take my paint bucket. Here's the color it is. So if I want to make it a little darker, I just make it a little darker. You can see the contrast to where it was to where it's going now. Up here in the box, I push OK. Now I go in here with my paint bucket tool. I click on there and I get the wrong color. I hit Command Z to undo that. Do that again. Now I've got the color I want. And I can set that right in there because I cut it out of that shape and it works all together. All right, super duper. I have a monster eye going on there. I'm very happy with the whole thing.